All right, team, let's light this fire. I'm Alex Rivers, and yes, I once nearly burned down a hotel kitchen over a hollandaise emergency. But enough about my war stories. What's cooking in the wider world?
And I'm Tamara Washington, baking up comfort, culture, and soul from my grandmother's heirloom recipes to yours. Tender, bold, and always made with love.
Oliver Ollie Bennett here, mixing precise intellect, dry gin humor, and just a dash of cocktail sophistication. Let's stir in some anticipation for today's rather expansive literary menu.
I'm glad you said expansive, Ollie, because today we're serving a full 5-course reading list. We're diving deep into books that expose the raw, beating heart of the hospitality industry, from the fiercest memoirs to the most visionary guides.
Right.
We're going to unearth stories that will resonate with every single chef, bartender, or pastry soul out there.
Yeah.
We've got the beautiful, the brutal, and the absolutely brilliant.
And, as always, we'll blend in some technique, nuance, and a few cheeky comparisons. Just enough to keep things charmingly stirring.
So, let's get right into it. First up, a book that hit me like a splash of hot fryer oil. Hannah Selinger's Cellar Rat. I actually found this memoir right after a particularly venomous kitchen shift.
Oh, wow.
Her journey from a server to a sommelier is so brutal, so unflinching, and I have to say, heartbreakingly familiar to anyone who's really been in the weeds.
It's a powerful and a necessary read. From a beverage perspective, what I found so compelling was her articulation of pursuing something as elegant and refined as a Grand Cru Burgundy,
Right.
all while navigating such personal and professional squalor. The contrast is simply staggering.
Exactly. Her accounts of harassment, emotional abuse, the sheer chaos in these so-called elite kitchens, it's completely unfiltered.
Yeah.
It just proves the glamour is often well-disguised scar tissue. But the real gut punch, for me, is the structure. She ends every single chapter with a thematic recipe.
Wow, she's literally creating something beautiful and nourishing directly from her own trauma. It's a heartbreakingly artistic choice.
That's the part that really stayed with me, Alex. I mean, it's one thing to tell the story, but to then offer a recipe, it feels like she's actively trying to metabolize the pain and turn it into something life-giving for the reader. This is essential, almost required reading for anyone trying to build safer kitchens, chefs, managers, mentors. I would strongly suggest pairing it with Barbara Lynch's Out of Line for another powerful story of a woman who just refused to be broken by this industry. And speaking of building better kitchens, let's pivot from those necessary shadows into the light.
Okay.
I really want to talk about Will Guidara's unreasonable hospitality. You know, in my pastry workshops, I'm always whispering to my students, the real secret ingredient is that extra mile you go when you think no one is watching.
Right.
Well, Guidara's entire philosophy is that exact sentiment, but amplified to a stadium level.
He's the 11 Madison Park guy, right? The place that became the world's best restaurant?
Exactly.
That's an environment that could so easily be rigid, cold, pretentious, but he took it in the complete opposite direction.
Completely. His core thesis is simple, but it's revolutionary. Uplift your guest so profoundly that they become a part of your restaurant story. It's not just about service. It's about genuine human connection. He tells this amazing story about a family from out of town just crushed they couldn't get a reservation. And as they were leaving, he overheard their kids saying they at least wanted to try a real New York hot dog. So Will Guidara, the general manager of the best restaurant in the world, runs outside, buys a hot dog from a street vendor, and has his 3 Michelin-star kitchen plate it beautifully and serve it to them in the dining room for free.
Ooh, that is just magnificent. It is the perfect antithesis of the gatekeeping, ego-driven culture we so often see. It's not about saying, no, you can't come in. It's about finding a way to say yes
And how can I make this moment special for you?
Yes!
It's an absolute must-read for anyone in a leadership role. I'd say it's the modern, soulful evolution of the industry classic Setting the Table by Danny Meyer. And speaking of classics, we must pay our respects to the book that, let's be honest, started it all for so many of us. The one, the only, Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain.
The Holy Scripture. Truly, every single word he wrote felt like you were right there with him, snaking through a steamy, greasy, absolutely glorious kitchen.
Yeah.
He was the unapologetic voice for every chef who's ever bled and sweated and sworn for their craft. In a way, he gave us all a permission slip to finally be our authentic, rough-around-the-edges selves.
It's a classic for a reason. But, reading it now, especially after a book like Cellar Rat, it's a more complicated read for me. Do you think that in all its brilliance, it also accidentally glorified some of the very toxicity we're now working so hard to dismantle? That pirate ship crew can be a lot of fun, but it can also be incredibly dangerous for some people.
That is a very sharp and, I think, a very necessary point, Tamara. Kitchen Confidential is a time capsule. He captured the raw, unvarnished truth of his era.
Right.
And in doing so, he perhaps cemented an archetype that we've been living with ever since. The book's value now is twofold. For the School of Hard Knocks wisdom that remains timeless, and is a historical document of a kitchen culture that, thankfully, is finally beginning to evolve.
Yes.
And for that very reason, you absolutely must pair it with his later work, Medium Raw, to see just how much his own perspective had matured.
All right, we've had the main courses, so let's hit a lightning round, a couple literary shots to round out the meal. Tamara, you've got one for us?
I do. Sweet Bitter by Stephanie Damler. If Kitchen Confidential is the definitive back-of-house anthem, then Sweet Bitter is the front-of-house ballad. It's a novel, but it reads like a memoir, perfectly capturing that intoxicating, overwhelming sensory overload of a first year in a fine dining New York restaurant. It's all about the education of the palate in wine, in food, in love, in heartbreak. It's just so sensory and beautiful.
An excellent choice. My pick is a tool, not a story. The Flavor Bible by Karen Page and Andrew Dornenberg. It is not a recipe book. It's a culinary thesaurus.
Okay. You look up a single ingredient, let's say cherry, and it just gives you an exhaustive list of every flavor that pairs beautifully with it, from almond to black pepper to goat cheese. It's the book that teaches you how to think creatively, not just what to cook. An indispensable reference for any serious cook.
Fantastic choices. So, my quick takes. Sweet Bitter is for when you want to remember the dizzying romance of it all. The Flavor Bible is the weapon you pull out when you're creatively and utterly stuck. Both are absolute must-haves on the shelf. So, to wrap it all up, here are our one-line lifters. Cellar Rat exposes the industry's dark truths with brutal, necessary honesty.
Unreasonable Hospitality gives us a hopeful, actionable blueprint for a kinder and more connected future.
Kitchen Confidential remains the foundational text that gave our entire industry its modern, unapologetic voice.
And our lightning round showed us the sensory romance of the floor with Sweet Bitter and the intellectual creativity of the kitchen with the Flavor Bible.
The theme today, it seems, is clear. Our industry is a profound study in contrasts. Totally. From trauma to transformation, from unbridled chaos to perfect choreography. It proves that authenticity, not polish, is still the rarest and most valuable ingredient of all.
Now, here's a question we'd like you to think about. What's one book that truly captures the feeling of hospitality for you? The good, the bad, or the ugly?
Hit us up with your recommendations. We're always building our library.
We truly can't wait to read what you're passionate about.
See you next week with more fire,